Very seriously here. Palmersville, Dresden. Worst of it, gonna probably miss Gleason to the north. But especially in these tornadic circulations, there's so much wind coming into these things, funneling in from the south, rotating into these things. The low-level wind shear is miss. The worst of it, Gleason, you still can get winds, high winds, that are funneling in from the south and curling around into that storm. The worst of it now is Dresden. Let's zoom in and give you a street-by-street view. Puryear, you're up next. Highway 54. Dresden, the circulation is over you right now. That is right over the center of Dresden. And remember, radar is...
The tornado of Dresden occurred on December 10, 2021. It was the most destructive tornado to hit Dresden in almost 200 years, leaving devastation throughout the heart of the city. Dresden's City Hall and fire department were destroyed along with many family homes, churches and businesses. Countless families were left without resources for daily life, such as homes and automobiles, food and clothing. Hundreds of emergency personnel and everyday citizens, throughout Weakley and surrounding counties, combed the city during the night and morning hours helping those in need. Although many injuries were reported, not one single life was lost to the tornado.
Get me EMS now. 212, City Hall's destroyed.
One victim of the tornado, Michael Reynolds, tells his story of how the tornado devastated the home that he was staying the night at, belonging to his friend Sam Swanson and Sam's daughter, Crystal.
The night of December 10th was, and forever will be, the most memorable night I have ever experienced in my life, as well as my friends, Crystal Swanson and Sam Swanson. We had heard about severe weather possibilities all day, but never imagined the severity that was heading our way that night. I was staying at Sam's house that night visiting both Sam and Crystal, having to be at work at 4 a.m. the next morning. It was suggested I get some rest in Sam's guest room and just leave from there for work. I had not been asleep no longer than an hour and a half when I was awakened by the sound of thunder. I got up, walked to the door and noticed all the lights were out in the house. I went to step out of the bedroom to check on Crystal and Sam. No sooner than I did I felt the floorboards begin shaking and heard windows breaking. Within the matter of seconds I felt the whole house begin to implode around me, pushing me and sucking out of a window, as I was being sucked out and drug out of the house. It felt as if someone had me by the arm, lifting me higher and higher in the air and would not let me go. At one point I cried out for God to help me and just make it fast. If this was how I was going to die, I had accepted it. I instantly felt the tornado's grip release me as I was tossed to the ground on top of what was left of Sam's home. The feeling of being alone instantly began to set in, and the uncertainty if Crystal and Sam were dead or alive was becoming more overwhelming. As each second passed by with no sign of them at all, I called out to them in hopes of hearing or seeing something to let me know they were alive. The only piece of the home that was left was the living room, where I found myself crawling up into, with still no sign of Crystal or Sam. I feared having to tell Cole, Crystal's son, that his mother and Papa were both gone. By the grace of God, all three of us made it through with our lives. Crystal and Sam were both pinned beneath the debris. Sam dug himself out and we later found one another. Crystal was trapped in what was once the bathroom, with the roof on top of her and no way to move. She was eventually found and dug out by her father and a passerby, who was just out checking the well-being of others. At one point we all felt alone and was uncertain of the well-being of each other's lives and our own different experiences, even though we shared the same disaster.
Hundreds of families, just like the Reynolds and the Swansons, were displaced from their homes the night of the devastating tornado. Many people donated food, clothing, and even a place to stay for those who were affected. Hundreds and thousands of dollars poured into Dresden to help assist those who had lost everything. Unfortunately, there are still those who are in need of assistance today. To explain how a tornado gets its rating, whether it's rated an EF2 or a EF3, or possibly even up to an EF5. Let's first take a look at what the EF stands for. The Enhanced Fujita Scale, or EF scale, is the scale used to estimate the wind speed of a tornado based on the damage it left behind. It also looks at more types of structures to analyze the damage and takes into consideration the types of construction and their ability to withstand wind damage. An EF unknown category was later added for tornadoes that cannot be rated due to a lack of damage evidence. The tornado database is a recorded, or logged, history of twisters that have occurred in our state of Tennessee since 1950. You may ask, who assigns a ranking to a tornado? The National Weather Service is the only federal agency with the authority to provide an official tornado EF scale rating. The goal is to assign an EF scale category based on the highest wind speed that occurred along the damaged path, according to the Weather Service. Dresden's tornado was rated an EF3 tornado. It was part of the highly destructive and deadly storm system that tracked hundreds of miles across multiple states on December 10, and tore clear across Weakley County and through Dresden's downtown area, and it also injured 8 people on its way on through Middle Tennessee that night.